Hey everyone, welcome to the 12th annual Forward Fest. My name is Cody and I'll be the host for this great event we have planned for you. Before I get into some of the details though, I would like to give a special shout out to our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. You guys have been with us, some for a long time, some new, but really want to let you guys know that we appreciate the support and being able to provide these resources and platforms to the Madison startup ecosystem. Now, before getting into the show, I would like to give some insight and background as to what we have planned for you. We have the ninth annual Startup Showcase put on by Capital Entrepreneurs. Capital Entrepreneurs is a grassroots community group that was built by Madison entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And we started this event in 2013. The Startup Showcase is a high energy platform that celebrates and showcases what's next in the Madison startup scene. And in a few moments, you're going to see a select group of 5 startups that you see on the screen here that will give a 5-minute demo day style pitch. And then we will have a short Q&A in between each of their presentations. And, please feel free to engage with the chat, shoot any questions. We'd love to be able to ask some of them to the founders and address some, live questions that you guys have at the top of your mind. But enough of the nitty gritty. I do want to say, without further ado, here are the pitches for the 2021 Forward Fest Startup Showcase. Please welcome our first presentation by Sharon of Economic Empowerment Collaboration. Sharon, take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Johnson, and I am the Chief Engagement Officer with Economic Empowerment Collaboration, or EEC. And it's a great honor to introduce our company to you. At EEC, we focus on, and we support entrepreneurs, but we focus on entrepreneurs of color to help them build successful businesses in order to help eliminate racial wealth disparities. Because despite there being numerous business support organizations in Wisconsin, entrepreneurs of color and businesses run by them have lower rates of startup, retention, and revenue. So EEC has identified and are addressing 3 problems associated with this situation. The first is that entrepreneurs of color, primarily those in the early stages, have barriers to accessing white-run formal business support services. They also have pre-existing constraints to starting a business, such as poor credit scores. In addition to that, they have limited access to networks of support. To solve this problem, EEC has come up with 2 solutions. The first being an interactive resource map. This interactive platform streamlines the process by narrowing the large number of resources and match the services and programs to each entrepreneur's unique needs. The second is a seed accelerator program that provides training, mentoring, and one-on-one coaching to help the entrepreneurs understand all components of operating their business. Basically, we streamline the process for the entrepreneur. Afra Smith is an example of an entrepreneur that EEC has supported. She is the founder of the Melanin Project, which provides financial coaching services to Black women and help them build generational wealth. We connected Afra to Merlin Mentors, and she has gone on to receive coaching and winning pitch competitions, and she was also a presenter this week at Forward Fest. We are so excited for Afra and look forward to helping other entrepreneurs like her. Our original audience is customers in South Central Wisconsin. We have plans of scaling the Midwest and going global and nationally. But no matter where our entrepreneurs are located, we plan to have an all-in-one approach in helping them with their unique needs. So no matter where they're located, we will provide training, coaching, and mentoring based on their unique needs. In March of this year, I was very fortunate to attend and travel to Kenya, Nairobi, and through the YWCA Amplify Madison program. There we were able to connect with 7 groups of entrepreneurs in various stages. And It was a beautiful experience, and we were able to connect entrepreneurs that needed resources with other companies that had resources to provide. There we met with Dorcas of Poplin Fashion. She teaches underserved girls how to sew and repair school uniforms. Her business, however, is located in a very impoverished area with limited resources and jobs for the girls that she trains. During our visit, we met and toured Shona's facilities with owners Isaac Malaki. His company manufactures and ships to Walmart, JCPenney, and 3M. We shared her story, and he can provide jobs to the girls that she trains, as well as additional sewing machines as he outgrows them. So we are very glad to be able to help in this situation when we connected one entrepreneur to another. Our revenue has been generated mainly through grants and donations, and we are working on a pay-for-service revenue model. These funds provide payments of our payments and of our payroll and website development. We welcome investors who want to help us support entrepreneurs who face barriers to success. For our charge for service, we have 3 membership levels. They are basic, elevated, and concierge. Each level provides benefits with increased hours for coaching and training to help the entrepreneur reach their success. To get to where we are today, we have a great team that is also racially and geographically located. Myself, Chief Engagement Officer, and we have our founder, Eric Upchurch. Our Deputy CEO is Roland Rojas, and our Administrative Director is Kwang Shin, and we receive consulting from Devon Sullivan and Sharon Lesberg of UW-Madison Extension. We are so excited to be helping entrepreneurs achieve their dreams and welcome support from others who want to help us with this mission. Thank you so much.
Sharon, thank you for the great presentation. It's really great work that you're doing, and certainly hits close to home. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to drive awareness and really kind of create a more diverse startup scene that can allow everyone to bring their ideas to the world. With that being said, I would be interested to know, what have you enjoyed the most about the journey in building your company? Because on one hand, you are helping others, realize their dreams, but I'm sure there's little nuances and obstacles that you've gone through in just, building the economic empowerment collaboration company. What would you say, what has that journey been like, or what has been the most enjoyable?
I've enjoyed just meeting the variety of people, both entrepreneurs and service organizations, because I have started a few companies on my own, and the frustration of just having so much information out there and not really being able to have it condensed just for my particular need. So I like the fact that we can just take someone's information and say, okay, this is what you need. Contact this company, and not the 12 others that may be out there as well.
Yes,
so that part of it.
Yeah, streamlining and helping people be more efficient is always a great thing. I guess the next question and the final question for our Q&A, just so we can keep it moving to the next participants, is what would you say is the single most critical element to having success in your eyes? And obviously people define success differently, but I guess what would you say that one critical element is that can help you really scale your message and grow?
I think just being available to people. A lot of people say, I can provide this information to you, but they're not necessarily be available, but being present whenever someone comes to me with a question and really helping that particular person at that particular time and being able to do so.
Yes. Yeah. Accessibility and awareness is always important. And if it's easy to find you, then it's easy to get an answer, right?
Yes. That's our plan and our goal. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sharon. We really appreciate it. We're going to move on to the next participant, and that is Nick from RedFox AI. Nick, take it away.
Thanks, Cody. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Myers, and I am the founder and CEO of RedFox AI. And today I'm excited to share with you a new product we just launched called VLab, which we are calling the trusted voice of home healthcare. So let's get into it. So from a 50,000 foot view, what is the problem we are solving with VLab? Well, In a nutshell, completing medical tests at home is confusing. And this problem, I've experienced it personally. I'll dive into a very personal story I have in just a few here. But millions of people currently have a wide variety of issues completing medical tests at home, whether that be the medical test is not memorable enough to incite action, or whether it may be not easy enough instruction-wise to complete facilitation. And all of this results in lower test completion rates, longer call center queues, and even worse, lack of patient trust. So you combine all these problems together and it doesn't create a solid user experience for the patient completing the test, and the provider is losing out on a lot of things on their end. So it's a problem that is affecting millions of people who've been able to identify. But why this problem? So this problem is actually very personal to me, and I'm going to quickly share a story about childhood cancer. So when I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and I had to undergo chemotherapy treatments both in the hospital and at home. And right before I was about to start getting home chemotherapy treatments, my parents had to get taught how to give me injections at home. And we maybe got about they maybe got about 10 to 15 minutes of training at the hospital. You would think it would be more, but it wasn't. But when the time came for them to give me these injections at home, well, of course, they had 1,000,001 different questions. And I just remember the struggle that they went through. For it had to have been 40 to 60 minutes of calling the hospital using a really bad IVR phone prompt system, getting redirected to the wrong people. Websites in 2003 and 2004 were just bad. I think we can all agree. So those weren't useful. But as I've gotten older and, of course, developed a passion for artificial intelligence and voice technology and viewing technology as a really powerful tool, I realized we can use voice to solve this problem for millions of people, because I never want to see anybody deal with that struggle like I did, and, of course, like my parents did as well. So what is our solution? Our solution is what we call VLab. And VLab is an all-in-one intelligent digital assistant that can be integrated into any website on the internet. It's powered by industry-leading conversational AI, and it is accessible from anywhere as long as you're able to access a web browser on smartphone, desktop, laptop, doesn't matter. If it's embedded in the provider's website, you can access it. We can also deploy it on Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. We've built in quite a few different features and capabilities as well. First and foremost, we can automate customer support, reducing call center overhead by 25 to 30% for the provider. We can obtain real-time patient feedback and actually collect and analyze some of the semantic data that providers don't have access to currently. We can authenticate patients and track test completion over time, which is something very valuable to providers. Also reminding patients to actually turn tests back in and increasing test return rates. This is a huge issue for providers and something that plagues patients as well. And all of this is coalescing into an intelligent guide, as we call it, which verbally guides patients through completing their test while checking in with them, collecting certain data points along the journey. So what does our market look like? We're targeting home healthcare, but initially we're focusing on at-home diagnostics. VLab can also be deployed for at-home therapeutics and skilled home healthcare. And of course, why now, right? What does our market size look like? Well, global home healthcare is growing exponentially. And by 2027, total market value is estimated to be $516 billion. So now is the time to really jump in with innovative tech and try and innovate home healthcare, since it is growing so rapidly. But what makes VLab different? We have a few key competitors out there, but there are 4 things that really set us apart. The first is VLab is not a chatbot. It is an all-in-one digital assistant. A lot of our competitors tend to deploy chatbots. Ours is conversational. It is designed to be as though you are interacting with another human being. It is conversational, not a chatbot. It's also designed specifically for home healthcare. A lot of our competitors tend to operate in multiple verticals. We operate specifically for home healthcare. Of course, patient authentication and data tracking. We are able to collect data in ways through verbal semantics that other providers aren't able to collect. So that is what makes us different. And really, I think the power of our story and the fact that through personal experience, we've lived this problem and I know exactly what this is like, really empowers our mission and forces us to really take a hard look at what our system can do. Our services and pricing structure, of course, we have a monthly subscription, so we have a one-time setup and configuration fee, and then we also have tiered package pricing based on what the provider needs. We also operate on pay-per-usage, so any AWS or Azure costs are passed off to the customer based on the resources they use per month. Our leadership team consists of myself, founder and chief executive officer, and our chief technology officer, Brett Brooks. Brett and I met 10 years ago, and the rest is history. And some of the stuff that he's been able to do with programming I'll never be able to do, but he is a true wizard when it comes to developing what we've built. So I give him a lot of credit. But in closing, no patient should ever have to go without reliable access to information and support when they need it the most. And thousands of providers and millions of patients we know are ready for this solution. So thank you very much for the opportunity today. Feel free to reach out to us if you ever have any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you giving us that presentation. Obviously there's a lot swirling with AI. It's kind of a big buzzword, but you guys are focusing in the voice area of AI. And I would, I guess, ask you, what is probably what would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions, whether it's from the point of view of businesses using AI/voice or consumers using AI/voice? What is that misnomer that is, kind of grinds your gears knowing what's the real details of the industry?
Yeah, I think especially when we look at from business, right? A lot of businesses tend to view emerging technologies as a catch-all solution to every problem that they're experiencing. But the beautiful thing is with the current state that AI is, and especially voice technology and conversational AI, which we're focusing on, as long as you have a really niche problem, it can really be molded to fit, or it can be molded to be the solution to fit that problem really nicely, especially with a lot of the tools that are available now and the fact that the technology, thankfully, every year gets more and more advanced and it's able to handle more and more data and become more intelligent. So on the business side, that's something that we view as really valuable right now and is a common misconception. On the consumer side, I think everybody thinks of AI, we tend to think of like Hollywood movies as it's portrayed AI, right? Where it's robot death machines that are out to kill us. But one of the things I always like to clear up is where we're at with AI and specifically conversational AI right now is it can only do one thing incredibly well. It takes a lot to get there, which honestly is probably a good thing, but no robot death machines just yet.
Nice. Well, I'm sure that gives peace of mind to all of our viewers. The other thing I guess, I would ask you is, has there been, or what has been the most surprising in your journey from, even the, who you've met or the conversations you've had surrounding AI? Because I know in some of our discovery and preliminary pre-production, you've traveled around the world, I believe, speaking about this. What has been the biggest surprise to you in this entire journey?
I think the biggest surprise really has just been the curiosity and the fascination that most people have. Again, as I kind of just alluded to, we all kind of have this picture from what media in Hollywood has shown us. But, one thing that I enjoy more than anything else is when I am on stage and I'm helping show people what the possibilities are with AI, helping them understand it. And then you see the gears start turning in their head in that corner where they're like, wow, I get this. I can apply this to create a positive human outcome for our customers or whoever we're trying to serve. So that's one thing that I find really interesting. No matter where I go in the world, there is just a really solid fascination and curiosity with the technology, which is brilliant to see, quite honestly.
Yeah. And I guess, one more quick question I would ask you is, obviously you guys are kind of focused in the home diagnostics, and there's a slew of things that voice can be attributed to or applied to. What would you say is one industry that you guys aren't really focusing on right now, but you think could be something of value or a big business opportunity in the future?
No, that's a really good question. And truthfully, we may have something else going on in the background, but I think hospitality, specifically when you look at the restaurant industry. I mean, you think about right now how often we're ordering out food using food delivery apps or going onto restaurant websites. I mean, I know for a fact McDonald's is working on voice-activated drive-thrus right now. And in fact, they're beta testing them at some of their Chicago locations. But I think a huge opportunity for voice is definitely hospitality and automating, booking airline tickets, hotel reservations, ordering your favorite food. And because the technology is intelligent, it learns those preferences over time. And in fact, at some point, we'll probably know what you want to order before you even do, right? So I think hospitality is a huge area that voice and AI can impact. And I think we're on the right path to get there. But that's something we're looking at too. That's something we really are interested in.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the insight and the foresight to what's to come in the world of AI and voice. We appreciate your time, and we're going to move on to our next participant now, Nick, and that is Jeremy from Wisyl. Jeremy, please take it away.
Hi, thanks for the introduction. I'm glad to be here and see some of these presentations. I've already learned a ton on some of those. So I will, like you said, my name is Jeremy. I am the CEO and co-founder of Wisyl. And what we are is basically trying to help you send information to the right places for people to pay attention to. So if you are an organization and you're trying to send emails to people, it's likely that whatever message or metric that you're going after, you're missing. One of two things is likely happening, actually. We'll go back. You're either set your bar so low that you have a chance to hit it, or you're just missing that metric altogether. So whatever you're sending that email for, whatever you're trying to get out of it, we're having a hard time getting there. And I know this because I lived it. For about 8 years, I was the retail marketing manager at Trek Bicycle, a local company here. You might have heard of them. And part of my job was to create programs and product launches and promotions for our 2,500 retailers in North America, and actually even some around the world. And the other part of my job was to try to get those retailers to pay attention to the things that we were doing for them. It's things that they needed, things they signed up to do, and information that they wanted. Yet when I would send my email out once a week with a bunch of pretty pictures and lots of copy, I would get about a 30% open rate if I was lucky. And you know that that's actually not too bad. The problem was, and what frustrated me most, was that people were not getting the information they needed to be successful. And what would happen is I'd send that email and I'd get a call back from one of our retailers, and he'd say, hey, how come I didn't know about this new bike that you've got? And I'd say, well, I sent you an email. And of course he'd say, if you want me to know something, you need to text me. I'm like, well, okay. And then somebody else would call and say, hey, I'm on Slack all day. If you want me to know something, you got to Slack me. Or I'm on Telegram, or whatever it was. And what I found was that people all have a preference on where they want to get the information. And all I could do was email them. And I was like 93% of other B2B communicators, only using email to distribute information and deliver content. The open rate on that, I got a pretty good open rate, 30%. It's bikes, it's fun, so people open that stuff up, but it's really low. And the disconnect is that 4 billion people use messaging apps daily. I'm using email, everybody else is on messaging apps. And so Wisyl set out to fix that problem. So the first thing we do is we ask your recipient list, or your subscribers, if you will, where would you like to get your message? Instead of saying, hey, if you want information from us, you got to go to our B2B site, or you got to go to our email. We say, where would you like to get it? And they tell us. Now, if they don't tell us, if they decide, hey, I don't want to tell you, you'll be able to send an email to them just like you always do. But if they do tell you, they'll let you know that they want a text message, or they want a Twitter DM, or they want it on Slack, or they want it on Discord, or any number of channels that we have now and that we're putting into the program later. Then we give you a really effective, efficient message creation tool. You can either, we've just kind of developed this lately, you can either send a one subject, one message, one link type information, an action-based message. Hey, there's a thing you need to do, click this link and go do it. Or we've got a newsletter, type of newsletter that you're normally looking for and normally using now, and you can send that off. Once you hit send those, kind of where the magic happens, right? You hit send, it goes out to where each of your recipients actually want it, instead of just going to, And we know that sending messages isn't the only part of communication with B2B customers. Sometimes they've got a question. Does it come in orange? Does it come in red? How many things? Whatever that question is, wherever they get their message, they hit reply. It comes back natively. It comes into the Wisyl app, and you can go to a one-to-one communication with them based in Wisyl. So we've had great success with early beta customers. What we're looking for really is click-through rate. Each of our messages has some reporting attached to it. And Tribe9, a local thing in Madison here, they've been using us to communicate with their not their customers, but their employees. And they're getting a 55% click-through rate, which is much higher than they were getting before. People for Bikes is talking to their ambassadors out there, and they're getting 63%. And our goal for Wisyl for our customers is 75%. We're seeing some lower stuff now. I mean, sometimes if you're going to talk about 401k plans, you're probably not going to get a good click-through rate, but it's much higher than what it's been before. Another thing that we're finding, I'll make this video go for you a little bit, is that when people are choosing the channels that they want to get their communication on, we've also given them the opportunity to vote for things that they might want to see next. And many, like I think 70% of the people who have chosen a channel have chosen 1 to 3 other channels they'd like to see. So the information And the way that people are getting information, they see it, they want to see different things, which is really encouraging to us. So who is Wisyl for? Well, I show this slide and people kind of chuckle at it because it's got so many different boxes on it. But the reason I put it up there is because every time I show this, someone wants to throw another box up here for us. We've got brands, events, nonprofits, clubs, teams. Some of the people that have presented already today could probably use Wisyl to help communicate with their subscribers and recipient list. But we know that we do have to focus to get this off the ground. And so what we're focusing on now is a B2B list that basically sells through or supports retail. And the reason we do that is that's the world I came from. That's the world that my co-founder come from. And so we know those people well. We know their challenges well. Hopefully they've got between 5,000 recipients or lower or higher. It doesn't matter to us, but that's kind of the target area. They're delivering consistent messaging, and they have a relationship with the people that they're going to. This isn't a spray and pray type situation or just get it out there any way you can. It's really about a list of people who want the information that you've got and now want to tell you where they want to get that information. Our team is pretty small at this point. We've been going at this for a little while, but right now we've got myself as the co-founder and CEO, and my background there is at Trek. We've got Dan Koziak, who worked at Promobox. He's a co-founder there, and that was a retail marketing, I should say is, a retail marketing platform out of Boston. And Igor, our CTO, who kind of keeps us in line, makes sure we don't chase features that don't make any sense and keep us going there. So small team at this point. We also have an offshore developer doing a lot of the button pushing, making things happen for us. And so we really think we've got the right product. Like I mentioned before, spray and pray really has no place in B2B communications. The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit is that organizations can stop chasing technology. What do I mean by that? Well, you hear, okay, you're going to send emails. That's going to be great for now. And then you hear, oh, you got to send text messages out to people. And then Slack is the way to go. And as an organization tries to react to those things, they have a hard time ramping up their stack or whatever they need to do to communicate those things. With Wisyl, you don't have to worry about it anymore. We make sure that we've got the channels that your recipients are looking for. You write your message once in one place, hit send, it gets to the right place. You don't care really where they get your information as long as they get it and they click on it and they read it and they act on it. And then our product stickiness is kind of built into the product because once you've asked 5,000 people where they want to get your information, you want to respect that once you get going. So you can't then very easily go back and just send an email. We really believe we've got some unanswered demand. Again, 4 billion people using messaging apps. 93% of business-to-business communicators are only using email. And people are looking for this. 52%, I think, is part of what we've seen. People want to be able to choose the way that they're communicated with. And we know the space. We're basically building the product that I needed when I worked at Trek. We've got over 40 years combined in this market. And really, this is just the beginning. We've got our standalone product right now at wisyl.com. You can go there, sign up, start using it right now. The next thing we want to do is actually integrate in with some of the more popular CRM systems, whether it's HubSpot or Salesforce or anything else that you use, so that where you start your message can be where you need it to be. Wisyl works in the middle, sends it out to the right people at the right places, and brings it back into your CRM. So we're working on that. That's kind of our phase 2. And phase 3 will be bringing Wisyl into your platform. If you've got a platform, you need communication built into it, we'll build it into there. So we've got a lot of things going right now. We're really happy about our standalone app. Really, Wisyl is an action-based communication tool. Ask your subscribers where they want to get their information so that you can send content to the place where they'll pay attention to it. Really looking forward to any questions or comments, and catch me at the social things too. Thanks.
Jeremy, thank you for a great presentation, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to trying to track down where people want to be communicated with. I've certainly dealt with that, whether it's a startup trying to communicate with investors or the examples that you provided. But I think one of the questions that I want to ask you about is kind of centered around the experience of building a company and the transitions from the corporate world or the corporate setting that you were in with Trek. Obviously, you had a lot of experience there, a lot of success. What was that journey like? If you could, share that with some of our audience who might be thinking, oh, should I, jump into entrepreneurship? Should I leave my, day-to-day job, this 9 to 5 or this corporate job? What was the experience like transitioning from what you were doing at Trek to going out on your own and building a company?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I think that I was very lucky at working at Trek, and honestly, Trek was really my first corporate job, if you want to put it there. Because the way that Trek works, if you know people that work there, as much as possible, they try to set up managers, directors, anybody as small companies of their own. And so I ran a budget. I had a team. I pitched to the president to get more money. I had the opportunity to really be kind of an entrepreneur within Trek, and that really helped set me up for this. They probably didn't like the idea that also like gave me the confidence just to check out when I wanted to and have something else, but that's all right. What's really been great about it is just having an idea, being able to put that idea on a spreadsheet somewhere, because I always end up starting with a spreadsheet, and then seeing it come alive and knowing that I've got something all the way through it. And I've got a great team, and they bring up some really amazing things as we go through, but just that we've got that strain through the whole thing. And I really, like I said, am happy to have gone through the experience at Trek to help me build that.
Nice. And, for, all of our viewers out there who, are hearing this and obviously can probably be inspired by what you've done from going from Trek to starting this company. We don't want to provide any misconceptions about going out on your own. It is hard. There are ups and downs. What would be, or I guess, could you share one of your setbacks that really, obviously it was probably tough in the moment, but gave you a perspective or something to push forward and overcome it? Was there like any certain point in your journey where you're like, there was a situation where it's like, oh man, this is tough. I don't know if we're going to make it, or it was like just a catastrophic day. Was there anything like that you can say, this was an issue and we overcame it and it actually gave us momentum to go here? Was there anything like that?
Yeah. So I think putting your initial team together is really, really difficult. I was lucky with Dan as my first partner to really been through some of this stuff. We brought on, originally we brought on a developer as kind of a co-founder as well. And that blew up. It wasn't the right guy. He was a great guy. I love him, but he just wasn't the right guy. And we got our product to a point where we were going out to investors and we were trying to do things. And then he just kind of peaced out. We had nothing. And so that was a huge challenge for us in that neither of us, Dan's a front end developer, so he could make it look pretty, but neither of us could push buttons and actually make a product work. So walking through that while we were in our first raise was quite a challenge.
Oh yeah. But here you are now. So it's proof that you can get through those things. It's just, not getting too down on yourself, compartmentalizing it and using it to, make better decisions going forward. So one other question I'd like to ask you is, you alluded to having these integrations, in the future. I guess maybe even a step past that, like, what is your end goal for Wisyl? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds crazy to say, but I think that this kind of communication is where people want to go. And I think that this kind of company, whether it's Wisyl or something else, I'm not talking to investors right now, so that's different. We can be as big as MailChimp is, because the idea is that people want to get messages where they want to get them. Instead of, the relationship you build with someone when you say, hey, Cody, where do you want your information is much different than, hey, Cody, here's my email. All of a sudden, we're connected differently than we would be otherwise. And so where we really want to get to is the point. One of the challenges we've had right now with our standalone is that a lot of people are coming to, as we talk to them, they're saying, hey, I'm already using HubSpot. Do you integrate with HubSpot? And we're like, nope, we're a standalone application. We're like, all right, well, talk to me when you've got integrations. So what we really want to get, and I alluded to this, was I don't care where you start your message. You want to start it in Gmail, start it in Gmail. That's great. You're going to send it through the Wisyl platform. It's going to go out to the right place, and then it's going to come back. So I think once we can flow that through, and we've got the number of integrations where no matter where you start and no matter where you're in, we can be there. I think we can grow and take market share from some of the places where they're only playing an email.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing your journey and the success, and we appreciate you being a part of the Madison startup ecosystem. We're going to keep it moving to our next participant. Thank you, Jeremy. But next up is Andy from Rooted. Andy from Rooted Lending. Andy, please take it away.
Thanks, Cody. As you said, I am Andy, founder of Rooted Lending, and I am thrilled to be here and have the opportunity to tell you about how we are solving the problem of employee stock purchase plans, or ESPPs. And folks, that problem is 13 million or 68% of eligible employees don't participate in their ESPP, resulting in $19.5 billion being left on the table each year. That's $1,500 for each of those employees, or the equivalent to 2 months of rent. And it's Rooted's mission to provide inclusive financial tools to get these employees participating so they can earn, save, and grow their wealth. So what the heck is an ESPP, and how does it deliver that much value? Simply, it's a benefit offered by many public companies, which allows employees to buy their company's stock at a discount of usually 15%. Or in other words, the employees get to buy something worth $100 for only $85. And that discount is where the $19.5 billion of value comes from. If it's so valuable, why are 13 million people sitting on the sidelines? 2 big reasons. Lack of awareness around the benefit. Most people don't know it exists, or if they do, they don't quite understand how it works. On the other side, there's a cost or budget aspect. For the typical employee, it would cost almost $350 per paycheck to max this benefit out. And for most, that just does not work for an already overburdened budget. So what we end up having is an exclusive benefit where the only ones participating are the ones that have the knowledge and then the financial means to do so. And Rooted believes that financial inclusion is our moral obligation. So we have created a one-stop shop to knock those barriers out and get everyone participating. We do this by first providing education to make sure people understand the value of participation, and then provide innovative lending to make sure the individuals can participate without breaking their budgets while still reaping those rewards. Our innovative lending takes the form of loans that are fully customized to the individual and their ESPP, which means we can fully offset that cost of participation, which is that $350 per paycheck, and have the typical employee use this cash to earn almost $1,000 a year after paying for Rooted's fees. So taking a quick step back and looking at the market and revenue opportunity, 19.3 million employees have access to an ESPP. Our revenue, it comes from a transparent interest-only fee that generates an average revenue per customer of $675 a year. Putting those together, there's an annual revenue opportunity of $13 billion. And this is all while helping those employees earn that extra $1,000 a year. So how are we doing in attacking this market? Putting our money personally behind this, we have already issued loans totaling $95,000 across 7 different companies in 5 different states, which will help employees earn more than $17,000. Additionally, almost half of our customers have come organically, meaning they found Rooted's website, educated themselves on our service, and then asked us to partner with them. It's a solid testament to our content creation and ease of use, which is a great start to talking about how Rooted is uniquely positioned to continue the attack on this market, which comes down to accessibility. We are able to offer our lending services broadly, which includes prime and non-prime individuals due to our underwriting, which is based on the ESPP itself. It's our ease of use, leveraging technology to deliver unexpectedly great service with short application and processing times. Additionally, we get to deliver great news to our clients as we are providing them a product that earns them money. Lastly, we benefit from having a focused approach on ESPPs and operating in an underserved market. And just like we think Rooted is uniquely positioned, we also think the team is uniquely suited to take on this task. And that starts with me, someone who experienced the very problems I've been describing. I then found out my colleagues at the time were facing those same barriers and were also leaving that money on the table. This pain that we felt is what led me to create Rooted. Beyond myself, I'm actively building out a team, which will include a technical individual along with a product and compliance officer. Lastly, I have a great group of mentors found through the Merlin Mentor Group that have expertise in lending, funding, and digital experience, which are all essential to Rooted success. It's Linda, Daryl, and Kurt, who are generous individuals with both their time, network, and honestly can't say enough great things about them. So in summary, Rooted is attacking a big underserved market that has real economic and social value. We have built the tools to serve these employees and have proven that they work. When partnering with Rooted, ESPPs become a win-win situation. Thank you.
Andy, thank you for that great presentation. I think, as we had discussed in some of our pre-production and meetings, I think it's extremely relevant right now in a day and age where, we're living through a pandemic. Money is hard to come by. Jobs are, tough to come by as well. And so when you think about having extra money to pay 2 months of rent, that can go a long way. I would ask you, one of the questions that I have is is there a motivation for these public companies to, better drive awareness for these employees, or is that more so on the burden of the employee where the company's like, oh, it'd be better if we didn't offer these things, and so we're not going to advertise them as such? Like, where's the motivation for the company? Is there that motivation?
So this just like most benefits, this is a benefit that's put into place to, in this case, attract and retain talent, which is especially important in today's climate where the job market or the labor market is extremely tight. So whatever you can do to attract and retain that talent is very important. And what we're seeing is, the newer generations that are coming into the workforce are valuing these stock options more and more than previous generations. And so, making sure that you have benefits that are offering that type of, option to the employees is great. In terms of the education, making sure that people are, so like you can offer it, but you also have to get people enrolled in it, right? So like there's that step there. So employees or employers, this is something where Rooted can actually supplement and help them educate their employees so that the benefit that they put into place is actually doing what they intend. And so this is really coming down to mission alignment. If you want to actually retain this talent that you've attracted to your business, make sure they're participating in their benefits. And that's really kind of what's very important. And also, if you're engaged in an ESPP, studies have shown that you are a more engaged employee. You're taking less time off of work. And, I think another trend that's interesting is employers taking a bigger interest in their employees' financial well-being. So, if one of the biggest stressor in people's lives is money, and you can help them earn that because the company you work for, your employer, is your most important financial relationship. If they can continue to support the employees, that pays a lot of dividends down the road. So there's definitely that mission alignment there.
That's cool. And when it comes to like maybe more of the mechanics of it, is this something that is, liquid cash, or is this rolled into like a portfolio? Like, how do these things specifically work when it comes to, that number of, having 2 months extra rent, in earnings each year? How does that work?
Yeah, a good clarification. So yes, these are stock purchases. So the company will actually, using that $350 per paycheck that is contributed to this plan, eventually that money accumulates, and let's say $4,500 is accumulated. That money will then be used to purchase stock using that discount. And so that's where that value comes in. It's that discount value there. And so that stock will actually be distributed to the brokerage fund, wherever your company kind of works with. And at that point, you have your options on what you want to do with it. You can hold the shares, you can sell the shares, liquidate it, recognize the gains immediately. Or if you want to hold on to the shares because you think your company is about the stock price is going to increase more, that's an option for you too.
Wow. And, I think, this is something that anybody working at a public company should be interested in. Is there, as far as the contrasting element of, not public companies, private companies and startups, are there, similar opportunities for Rooted Lending to be involved in that space, whether it might be the startup space, or is it more so, strictly for, public companies?
Yeah. So at this point, it is public companies because there is that liquidity event that really helps facilitate the transaction of money back and forth. But there is definitely an opportunity with the private company as they do have stock options as well. And so what you find is employees or, especially people in early stage startups are offered these stock options. And sometimes they don't have the cash necessary to actually exercise these. And so there is that opportunity there to, make sure that people can by providing some funds or capital in that way. So down the road.
Wow. Well, I think that's something, we're excited to see how this develops, and, we appreciate you taking the time to educate. I'm sure some people had an epiphany on this presentation of, well, maybe I should reach out to Andy and, take advantage of some, money I'm leaving on the table. So, we appreciate the presentation and look forward to your future success. We're going to move on to our next and final participant, and that is Craig from Simply Automate. Craig, take the virtual floor, please.
All right. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Folks, my name is Craig Clickner, and I have the esteemed privilege of representing a company called Simply Automate, Inc. They have the ability and capacity to build bots and replace manual and redundant processes for small to mid-sized businesses. And what we like to say is because bots don't make errors or take breaks, people certainly do. So to define the problem, I believe Andy said right before me, labor is the problem. Extremely tight was the verbiage you used, Andy. I appreciate that. Anyone who owns a business today knows how hard it is to find the people that you want and also pay for them as well as keep them. I know several restaurateurs. My wife and I live in the Waunakee area, and they won't even start a restaurant in Waunakee, not because the market isn't there, but because they know they can't find good labor. It is a challenge, and also finding good labor. I think the newest stat was almost $5,000 just to find the right person for a job. So what is the solution? Ultimately, automation. We've all talked about it. We're moving in this direction. Several of the companies that presented today even went there. But ultimately, automation is more cost-effective than most HB solutions. If you're not familiar with that acronym or that terminology, that is technical in the RPA industry, as we call it, for human beings. It's also more accurate in the end. Bots don't really make mistakes as long as they're programmed correctly, right? Who are we? So we're Simply Automate, Inc. We're the first company to actually crack the code for the SME and SMB markets, which I'll talk about in a second. RPA stands for robotic process automation. It sounds fancy, but it's essentially being able to build bots. This is being done at the enterprise level like crazy. There's currently about 54 major vendors. It is the fastest growing segment of the global software market. In 2016, it was about $120 million industry. In 2027, it's predicted to be $26 billion. I just heard on a call the other day, Automation Anywhere, one of the leaders in the industry, predicted that 97% of businesses in the high-level SME and enterprise world will have this technology. Our company focuses down here in this space, from companies from $1 million to about $150 million in revenue, and we've already serviced in that range. This market is totally untapped. I would say that the opportunity is gaping. As we continue down here, I just want to talk a little bit about some actual scenarios. So meet Sai. This is the software bot. Ironically, Software Automation Incorporated is his name, right? He's looking for work, but he's actually looking for more work. Our year-to-date revenue now is at $271,000. And I just got an update literally before I got on that we're now at 290. So we must have signed a contract here while I've been on the presentation. What does Sai actually do? What does this mean? Rule-based tasks that humans don't do as well as bots or don't like doing, or probably both. Basic things like payroll entry, bank reconciliation, invoice processing, a lot of data entry where there's duplication and a chance for errors. So small business owner, you get in front of them, you start talking about a new product, a new technology. The first question that comes to their mind, I know as a business owner, that's one of my questions is, what does Sai cost? Our answer, who cares? The reality of it, if it's less than the employee cost or the cost to complete said process, then you don't have to hire Sai. So what's beautiful about this product is that you can quantify how much a certain process is costing you based on labor and other associated costs. And then we can run the bot and run the trial and then determine if it's worth it to get the bot or not, which in most cases it is, as long as there's, $1 million to $2 million in company revenue and the process is being utilized enough. So a quick example, we have a banking client, $130,000 a year. That's 2 employees at 100 hours a week to actually complete a process. And after their labor costs, $91,000 in client savings once RPA was implemented. Our cost was only $7,000 a year. It eliminated errors, 10 to 100 times more faster, less turnover, and employees ultimately got moved to more fulfilling functions. That client since added several processes. But Craig, how long does it take to deploy SI? 30 days or less. We haven't had a single client where we haven't been able to deliver in less than 30 days. 3-step process that's super clean. Fill out a questionnaire. We just do a discovery call, and then we start building at, the head of the client once they give us the tip off. 80% of SA clients are actually adding new products. The ones that aren't are the ones that are just not on subscription base. So let's talk financial traction real quick as I start to run out of time already. Year to date, we're at 290 actually, but through July, we're at 257. Here's our projections. Why do we get those projections? Because until now, we haven't had a marketing budget. July was our strongest month on record. And August, we just added, I got a verbal commitment for a client that's going to do between $50,000 to $100,000. This is the seed funding. We just completed this last week. We have not had a lack of interest in investors. We've actually paused because we don't want to sell the company at the current rate. Now that we have actually completed seed funding, we can do real marketing, and we're very excited about what we can do from here with the opportunity. Just a quick shot of our team. We do have a very strong group of seasoned professionals who've already built businesses. No offense against the entrepreneur who's in his mom's basement trying to gut it out. Like, I've been there, I've done that, but we're not in that space. We have people who already know how to grow businesses. So what are we asking for? We've had people that have grown businesses. We feel very confident we can take this to the next level incrementally, but we want to grow exponentially. We're looking for connections, advice, and top-level talent on how to take a company from 250,000 to 2.5 million to 25 million. We have the technology to do it. Certainly the market and the need is there. We just need to make sure all the parts work and we don't mess up the cash flow, which so far has been pretty solid. In the Q4 of this year, we'll start to look at a larger fundraising, and mostly fundraising to upscale on development and also match the upscaling with the marketing. To conclude, wide open SMB and SME markets, subscription-based and very sticky revenue. We've also created a strategic partnership with the fastest growing global RPA vendor. We're their #1 provider in the United States as of right now. Over time, what we're going to do is start focusing actually on drilling in on specific markets and segments and niches. We've already started to do that with accounting. That allows us to be way more profitable and scale at an easier rate. So that is a quick run through. Thank you for the opportunity and the time, and look forward to fielding a question or two if I left you anytime, Cody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Craig. That was a really compelling presentation, and it, clearly shows where the world is going. I think for a lot of people, or, just a general topic in general for automation is, what do you say to the people who are worried about human being jobs being lost? Are they being dispersed into other pockets of the economy, or, what is your position on, this kind of takeover of automation and how it relates to, maybe lower class people having jobs, I guess? What is your position on that?
Yeah, so there's two different ways to answer that. I'll give you both answers maybe. Number one is a lot of times those resources can be redeployed. We've seen there's a lot of studies done that morale goes down when people have to do redundant and manual tasks that could be done by a calculator, an advanced calculator. So those folks, what we saw with the banking example is those folks actually got shifted to marketing, which was probably far more interesting. I haven't talked to the employees personally, but that's a great reallocation of those use of those resources. The second thing is technology is coming, AI is coming. So we need to prepare people, like I think with Sharon's type organizations, or even some of the other calls, other people who presented today, with more skills. I mean, there's no doubt that AI is coming. We're not going to stop that. The question is just, how are people preparing for it? And I think that we need to do, as a society, think about that as more of a moral question. But I would also encourage everyone listening that if you're in accounting, I say it's not a matter of if AI is going to have your job. It's just a matter of when. So the question becomes like, what are you doing to protect yourself?
Yep. And, some of that we think about those inevitables as, how is the internet, infiltrated all facets of our lives or social media,
True.
there's obviously, good and bad that comes with new technology. And I think if you focus on the aspects of, what you said with figuring out how you reallocate those, give people more, I would say, ownership or ability to do jobs that aren't, redundant and monotonous, it can really, change the vibrancy or the ethos of a company. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you is you have said that accounting has been kind of a sweet spot for you guys. Is there something outside the realm of, things that deal with numbers that you see being an opportunity for your automations to get into? I know that might be speculative or it might not even be possible, but I'm curious to see what, how far this opportunity of automation can really span to. Is there, things that you guys have talked about or have your eye on?
I mean, when you get into true artificial intelligence, and that's not really what we do, because the bots that we deploy are going to be rule-based, right? Mm-hmm. So when you get into true artificial intelligence, it's hard to say that there's any limitation. In terms of bots, you're looking at doing things that are a little bit more manual, typically numbers-based, or can just be converted or duplicated based off of rules. So anything that can be rule-based, yes. I use the banking example, but invoice processing, sales like data, all of those types of things can be moved to bots, and just you simply don't need people doing them, quite frankly.
Yeah. And would you say, last question I'd say is, obviously these things are predicated on numbers.
Yep.
Is there any aspect of words as it pertains to rule-based word interpretation for like interpreting a contract or, things of that nature? I'm sure there's a lot more subjectivity in those and what it means.
No, there's a tons, and we're actually already doing it with companies. So you can look at a contract and have a bot scan it for certain data, right? And then based on that, it can spit out things. And a lot of times what the bots do is they look for issues and then it kicks out the exception. Right. So if there's no issues, then it moves it through way faster than a human being can do. Once you see the issue, then you kick it out for someone to review. So yeah, absolutely. Reviewing words is a non-issue. I guess I didn't want to peg ourselves into a hole of only math and numbers, but they have to be rule-based. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's, great, for me and probably viewers, obviously numbers is something that's very, straightforward. If this, then that, 2 + 2 = 4, but there's subjectivity in words. So that's good to know. Well, Craig, I want to say thank you, for your presentation. You conclude our 2021 Startup Showcase.
Appreciate you having us. Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to your successes, and I'd like to give a quick shout out to the rest of the participants as well. You guys made it a great event. We look forward to this every year. Obviously, this is the second year in a row that we did have to go virtual. Hopefully next year, knock on wood, we're going to be able to be in person again. But wanted to say, thank you again to our sponsors. We're, really excited to have you guys as an ongoing support and driving this, movement of really elevating Madison and the state of Wisconsin to new heights as it relates to our stage or our level or our awareness to the startup ecosystem in the United States. So, we're well on our way. What I would like to do is make sure everyone who RSVP'd to the Rooftop Social to go there. It's going to be a great event to follow. You're going to be able to mix and mingle with people. Beautiful views of the Capitol. It's a nice day, so we hope you enjoy it. And then lastly, I would just encourage everyone to go check out Capital Entrepreneurs. I want to give a special shout out to the other officers of the company. Myself, I'm part of Capital Entrepreneurs. It's been a great time. But Ben Hansen, Ben Camp, Tyler Waite, Benny Picala, we've been eagerly looking to put on these events, and we have a new website. So a lot of work was put into it. Please check it out. We have a lot of events coming up, and we look forward to seeing you at our next one. Enjoy Forward Fest, guys, and we'll see you next year.